Mike Davis out of hair and makeup, looking top of the morning to you, sir. Julie's point about Halligan is missed on, we covered, I think there was combined on CNN and MSNBC yesterday, something like 8 hours of coverage on this very topic. It was never brought up that Halligan's actually been nominated. The fix is in on this, Mike. Give us lay out the battlefield of exactly what's going on as they come after President Trump on this whole effort of de-weaponization, sir.
There is overwhelming evidence that former FBI Director James Comey lied to Congress and obstructed a Senate investigation related to his involvement in Crossfire Hurricane, the biggest scandal in American history, where Obama, Biden, Hillary, and so many other bad actors politicized and weaponized intel agencies and law enforcement to take out their political enemy and to help their political ally, take out Trump and help Hillary in 2016. And this is an ongoing conspiracy. Ted Cruz caught James Comey lying before the Senate Judiciary Committee. This evidence has been out there. The Justice Department is controlled by these deep state actors who refuse to hold their own accountable. Instead, they want to go after their political enemies. And that's exactly what happened here. There's overwhelming evidence against James Comey. It's clear cuts. And we've seen this because James Comey and his attorneys have filed several motions to try to kick this indictment against him. And then Trump U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan has produced the evidence. She's shown the receipts and the evidence is overwhelming. She's done this 3 different times. And I'd like to ask this, why didn't the prior U.S. attorney bring these charges when the evidence is so overwhelming? He was on a 120-day interim appointment and he was covering up for James Comey, whether it was cowardice or corruption. There is overwhelming evidence against James Comey, and this prior acting or interim U.S. attorney on a 120-day appointment refused to bring charges because he was probably a coward. I doubt he was corrupt. He was a coward. And so what do? You get rid of that U.S. attorney who refuses to follow the law. And the attorney general has the absolute statutory power to do this. That's what Attorney General Pam Bondi did by appointing Lindsay Halligan as the new interim U.S. attorney for 120 days. And Lindsay, they pretend like because Lindsay's beautiful, the left and some of these cucks on the right want to pretend like she's dumb. Well, she proved that she's very competent. She brought the evidence. She secured this indictment against James Comey in the Eastern District of Virginia, with this grand jury that's stacked with partisan Democrats in the D.C. suburbs. And this grand jury did not rubber stamp what she did. This grand jury did not bring the more serious perjury charge, but the grand jury brought false statements charges and obstruction charges for what James Comey did. And so what has happened here? You have this Obama chief judge of the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals who hand-selected this Clinton judge in South Carolina to come in, and the fix was clearly in. And the fix was clearly in by reading the first sentence of this Clinton judge's order in both the Comey case, where this Clinton judge dismissed these indictments, along with the case against Big Tish James in New York City, who's very credibly charged of committing lying to financial institutions and committing bank fraud in relation to her Big Tish James lying about this mortgage in Virginia as her second home instead of an investment property to get a better interest rate, right? And so these charges are rock solid. The evidence is overwhelming. And you have these Democrat operative judges going out of their way to sabotage this by misreading 2 different statutes and misreading them in a way that doesn't avoid a constitutional conflict. It creates a constitutional conflict. They're trying to say that the attorney general only gets to have their pick as the interim for 120 days, and that's it. And then the court gets to jump in and appoint their own Democrat operative as the interim U.S. attorney, and there's nothing that the attorney general or the president can do about it. That is a clear violation of the separation of powers. That's a clear violation of Article 2 of the Constitution. If these federal judges who are hand selected by Democrat senators think they can hand select the U.S. attorney during Republican administrations and have puppet U.S. attorneys who protect Democrats and then weaponize the Justice Department to go after Republicans. Hell no. This is totally unacceptable. This is corruption by these judges, and it needs to be appealed.
This is a constitutional. Has this ever happened to any other president before? Is President Trump the first one that they've selected to do this, sir?
Here's the problem when you have we have this tradition called the blue slips, and I hate it, right? I hate this blue slip process. I tried to get rid of it when I was the chief counsel for nominations on the Senate Judiciary Committee. But these home state senators get a hand select their own district judges. They get a hand select their own U.S. attorneys, and it's outrageous that the president of the United States and his attorney general cannot have their own person to be the chief law enforcement officer in these districts where there is a Democrat senator in the home states, and it's unacceptable. We have to fix it.
Viceroy, hang on. I got a lot more to drill down on. Mike Howe is going to join us. So the sharp end of the spear is with us this morning on issues that we got to get solved and have to get them solved quickly. Team. Okay, folks, why are we spending time on this? The Comey situation is a linchpin. It's the opening act. It's the curtain raiser on Crossfire Hurricane. We have brilliant people like Mike Benz, like Alex Jones, like Natalie Winters, and many others. If you go to Zero Hedge, they've done an amazing job of describing the deep state, the coordination with the Soros and Arabella and the funding apparatus of USAID. But now we need the legal wet work done. Somebody's got to get in there. If you're going to take down the deep state, you got to take it down. Part of it is cutting off its money through the congressional part of it and firing people. But the most important part is putting people on trial and getting to the bottom of this. This is why I got Davis and Howe, two of the real fighters that are in here today. Mike Davis, if we are to take down the deep state, it's not going to be a garden party. They're going to throw up every roadblock in the world. And the establishment Republicans don't want in on this. Remember, they went along with it for decade after decade after decade. The big law firms don't want to touch this because they're kind of complicit. I'm talking about the big conservative firms because they've had guys in and out of administrations. You've seen this forever. This has to, it has to be more of a priority for the Trump administration right now. We've got to get all over it. And I realize the guys at Main Justice are doing what they can do, but he's got to start cracking the whip on the congressional side and banging some heads and say, hey, you have to prioritize this. Right now, it's just lip service or going on Fox or putting out strongly worded letters. We're now in the wet work phase. If we don't get it done over the next 6 months, I mean initiate it to really get momentum on this, it's just going to fade away, and we're going to still have the deep state more empowered. And if the Democrats win the midterms, and if for any reason they steal the 2020 election, people are going to go to prison because they understand now they're not going to make this mistake they made last time, which is not take it to the bitter end. And I mean going to prison, I mean President Trump, the people around President Trump, people are just doing their jobs they're coming after. So this, to me, cannot be... It is the highest priority we have right now to actually get things done. Mike Davis, your thoughts. The Viceroy.
You are spot on with that, Steve. We have faced this unprecedented republic-ending lawfare by these Democrats, along with their useful idiot Republicans in Washington, D.C., who don't understand that when the Democrats come for us, these useful idiot Republicans who are going along with this are not going to be spared, right? And so we saw this with Arctic frost. Here's a perfect example of this. We had Crossfire Hurricane, we had Arctic frost. For 8 years, we had President Obama, Vice President Biden, Hillary Clinton, Brennan Clapper, Comey, so many bad actors politicize and weaponize law enforcement and intel agencies to take out Trump, to take out his aides like you, Steve Bannon, and Peter Navarro and Jeff Clark, to take out his supporters on January 6th, to take out MAGA more broadly. These Republicans in Washington, D.C., didn't say very much about this, with few exceptions, like my former boss, Chuck Grassley, who's been an all-star on this, and Ron Johnson, his colleague in the Senate, who have been investigating this all along for 8 years. But other than those two, it's been crickets largely from both the House and the Senate. It wasn't until the squishy Republicans found out through Arctic frost that these Democrats operatives were actually also spying on them, that these 8 senators, that's when we started seeing the outrage. That's when we started seeing, after 8 years of crickets, these swampy Republicans in Washington, D.C. finally started to care about this. People need to understand this, and it's exactly what you said, Steve. They tried to take out Trump last time. They tried to bankrupt him for non-fraud. They tried to throw him in prison 4 times for life for non-crimes. They tried to take him off the ballot unconstitutionally, illegally. In Colorado, Maine, elsewhere, they tried to take off his head. When Biden underfunded Trump's Secret Service protection twice, said Trump was the gravest threat to democracy, to put a bullseye on Trump. They're going to be much worse after the end of Republicans controlling the White House, whether that's on January 20th, 29, or after, if we do not hold them accountable with the most severe legal, political, and financial consequences. If they don't feel those consequences, they are going to be so emboldened, and they're going to come after us, and they're going to come after us hard. It's not going to just be Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro who go to the clink. It's going to be a lot of other Republicans who go to the clink, including people who are not particularly MAGA. The Republican Party needs to wake up, and wake up very fast. We need to move aggressively with the House Judiciary Committee, and we need to hold these Democrat operatives accountable for this illegal lawfare, whether it's prosecutors, intel agents, or even federal judges. Jim Jordan needs to get moving with the House Judiciary Committee.
To give them a nudge, what about Article 3? Can the Warren Posse go to Article 3 today and get some information and make contact with Jim Jordan's team over at House Judiciary about the impeachment of Boasberg before we go on Thanksgiving, before we get around the table for Thanksgiving Day, sir?
Yes, I have never called for the impeachment of a federal judge before Jeb Boasberg. This one is crucially important. This is an Obama judge. He was the chief judge of the D.C. District Court. He's up to his eyeballs with all this lawfare against Trump, his aides, and his allies and supporters. Julie Kelly has done a masterful job over the last many years calling out these D.C. judges, not only the Democrats who are just treacherous, but the Republicans who are the biggest cowards on the planet, with very few exceptions. And Jeb Boasberg is the leader of this cabal. He's the one who authorized illegal spying on U.S. senators and told these cell phone companies that they couldn't disclose this spying to U.S. senators, which is a direct violation of federal statute, which is impeachable on its own. It's this Jeb Boasberg who ordered the President of the United States to turn around planes during an ongoing classified military operation to return the most dangerous terrorist in the Western Hemisphere, Tren de Aragua and MS-13, back to America instead of sending them to a high-security prison in El Salvador. Boasberg wanted to sabotage this mission because he hates President Trump so much, even when it wasn't his jurisdiction. The Texas court, not the D.C. court, had jurisdiction over this case, and it was Jeb Boasberg who overruled a Democrat magistrate judge in D.C. who correctly put in pretrial detention a woman who made vicious death threats against President Trump and then traveled to the White House, and she was arrested. A magistrate judge put this woman in jail. She traveled from New York City, and Boasberg overruled this magistrate judge and freed this would-be assassin from jail. Jeb Boasberg is, not only are his orders extremely lawless, they're also extremely dangerous. That certainly meets the impeachment standard, and the House of Representatives needs to move forward with impeachment ASAP. We need to put Jeb Boasberg through this impeachment process. I don't care if we don't have 2/3 of the votes in the Senate. I want to make the process the punishment to serve as a major deterrent to other judges that they can't do this stuff. And if Jeb Boasberg is sitting through impeachment hearings, he's not in his courtroom with his highly illegal and highly dangerous orders trying to sabotage the will of the American people and President Trump. So the War Room Posse should go right now to article3project.org, article number 3project.org, and they should take action. And the first action item on the top left is tell Congress to impeach Jeb Boasberg. This guy is a dangerous, lawless, partisan actor in a robe, and he needs to be held accountable.
Mike Davis, your social media, besides Article 3. We'll get everybody to go today. Julie Kelly be back. Remember, folks, he's trying to bring criminal contempt charges around the people around President Trump and eventually get to President Trump to impeach Trump. This is what they're teeing up in their theory when they take the House in 2026. This is all playing out on this battlefield. We're ahead of it. We need your help, need your assistance. War Room Posse, go to Article 3 today. What's your social media, Mike, so people can keep up with you all day?
And I'm just very fast. House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan, this is your time finally to step up. Pretend like the Constitution is Google and fight like hell for the Constitution like you fight like hell for Google. You can go to my social media. You can find us at article3project.org. Follow us on social media. Take action like impeaching Jeb Boasberg. And that's the most important thing that the War Room Posse does. Donate, but only what you can afford. And thank you very much, Steve. And thank you to the War Room Posse, the most potent force in politics. Yeah. Action, action, action today.
Well, we got to show it now. Thank you, sir. President Trump and the country, the republic needs us. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.